A couple weeks ago, I set out to make a speedrunning game with a basic premise: shoot targets and go fast. This is Speed Shooter, inspired by a mix of Counter-Strike surfing, Deadlock, and good old Skyrim archery. Speed Shooter is a game about sliding on ramps, knocking down targets as you fly by. Me and my friends hosted a competition to see who could set the fastest record, but I never could have predicted the results. This is how I made the game and the story of the world record speedrun. To get started, we need to understand our target audience. Speedrunners care about two things: going fast and proving they're faster than others. Now, the latter isn't so hard. A simple timer will get the job done. But the former is where things get a little bit more complex. An essential part of racing games like Trackmania is the accumulation of speed. In these games, even a tiny increase in speed at the beginning of a track balloons into a massive lead by the finish line. The core concept to keep in mind here is momentum. In other words, every movement should carry your speed forward into the rest of the level, allowing small optimizations to result in huge gains. Another subtle but equally important concept in these games is what I'm calling flow. By my definition, flow is largely dictated by level design. It's how it feels when one jump leads into the next, how it feels to strafe into the turn. A level flows when it feels natural to move from one segment to the next, like it was tailor-made for you to glide through. As it turns out, this is pretty hard to get right. I've made some games in the past, but none of them required strong level design, so I did what I do best and I dove right into it. My early designs were not that great. I didn't really have an understanding of what made a particular section good or bad, but slowly I began to improve. I started iterating. I'd have an idea, I'd test it out, and likely throw it away. But some of those ideas would stick. And those were the ideas I'd tweak over and over again until they felt just right. But this isn't just a racing game. It's an FPS racing game. In addition to ramp placement, I also had to consider the placement of the targets. I decided early on to adhere to some rules to ensure the smoothest possible experience. Number 1. Unless you were flying through the air, targets should be placed along the path you'd naturally trace with your mouse. Flick shots and 360s would make the game super challenging and honestly might be really fun, but if it impacted the flow, I didn't want it. Number 2, give breaks. Moving and shooting is the name of the game, but it could get pretty monotonous if you had to constantly shoot throughout the entire level. And to keep the gameplay fresh, I made sure to give the player a short break after every group of targets. Now, this allowed for sections where the player had to shift their focus from moving to aiming and back again, creating a sort of natural rhythm. Another thing I kept in mind was that this level basically functioned as a tutorial for the game. I didn't want to flood the screen with text prompts and over-explain everything. Part of the fun is figuring things out yourself. So how do you guide the player to improve without holding their hand? The solution I came up with was reinforcement. I thought of the level as a sequence of demonstrations for the game mechanics. Take for example the start. The first thing you see when you load in is a gate with a target on it. So how do you get out? Immediately following that, the first ramp leads into a short fall, dropping into another ramp. And the idea is to familiarize the player with ramp behavior. What's the fastest way to gain speed? You're immediately shown the difference between sliding down the full length of a ramp versus falling into one. The last one I'll mention is the first corner with 3 targets. It might be instinct for players to lean right as they approach the corner, but not everyone is familiar with the mechanics of strafing. The curved path of the targets guide your mouse, giving you a push in the right direction without just telling you what to do. This is reinforcement. None of these mechanics, beside the gate, are strictly required to beat the level, but the player is rewarded for using them. There's an awkwardness to playing the game without these techniques. Something feels off. And my goal was for this off feeling to motivate the player to discover more efficient ways to move. In other words, think like a speedrunner. I'm honestly really satisfied with the finished level. It's the result of probably hundreds of runs. In my experience, the best way to tell if something's working or not is to play it a lot. It helps you understand what the player would want to do at any particular section. And once you figure that out, your job is to enable it as much as you possibly can. Now is a good time to talk about mechanics. You gain speed by sliding down ramps, pretty basic. In Godot, this is what it looks like when you slide down ramps. But we can do better than the default movement. First, we need to talk about vectors. Vectors are made up of two components, direction and magnitude, or strength. In games, when you move your character, you're changing your movement vector, your velocity. Our job is to make it so anytime you're sliding, your velocity is affected in a way that feels expected. First, we need to understand the surface we're sliding on. Is it flat or angled? To find out, we'll use a raycast. A raycast is basically a laser pointer that shoots out, hits something, and reports back to us with information. What we need is a raycast pointing straight down. And with the information it gathers, we can calculate a vector that represents the surface we're on. By combining the vector given by the ramp with the player's velocity, we get a sense of continuity from the start to the end of a slide. And now that's the momentum we've been talking so much about. These feel pretty great to slide on, but there's a piece of the puzzle missing. As it stands, there's no way to change direction while you're in the air or sliding. This results in a railroad feeling, where your direction is fully decided by the ramp, which is boring. And the answer is strafing, the most quintessential movement technique. Here's how it works. While mid-air or sliding, you can't increase your speed by holding forward, but you can change your direction. While holding left or right, you slowly guide the mouse in the direction you want to go, and you'll start to curve in that direction. If you're a surf veteran playing this game for the first time, I'd say keep an open mind. Counter-Strike surfing was the inspiration, but I arrived at a completely different endpoint in my game. It might take some getting used to. Movement is only half the equation though, it's speed shooter. Fortunately, the bow and arrow was the simplest part to work out. You hold the button for a brief moment to charge, and you release it to fire. You can also tap the button to fire off some quick, low-powered shots, which are great for those tight clusters of targets. I think what's a lot more interesting than how the bow works is how the shooting affects the difficulty of a run. Early on, when you're still learning, the targets aren't that hard to hit. The arrows fly pretty far and don't require much adjustment for drop-off. And when you're going fast, everything changes. In fact, the faster you go, the harder and harder a perfect becomes. There are plenty of little optimizations and tricks to learn, but none are so esoteric that a new player can't quickly get an idea of what's going on. Since the mechanics are simple to pick up and the level is fairly short, it makes for a nice bite-sized speedrunning experience. After showing him the game, my friend Asar had the idea to hold a little speedrunning competition. We sent out a short message and I published the game. The challenge was set. Since the beginning of March 2026, gamers have wondered what it would be like to shoot arrows and zoom as fast as possible. In March of 2026, they got their wish. The release of Speed Shooter, the #1 archery speedrunning game in the world, was marked by an inaugural competition to see who could set the fastest record on the track under the All Targets category. The winner of said competition would not only receive a cash prize, but something much greater, an immortalized record, and crowned the greatest speedrunner the game had ever seen. This is the history of the Speed Shooter World Record. The object of the game is simple. Hit all 15 targets along the course in the fastest possible time. The track begins with a ramp dropping down into a half pipe, hitting the upper and lower targets on the way down. It transitions into the first turn, the corner ramp. After knocking down 3 targets, a jump just before the corner preserves speed, strafing into the straight. A quick slide and another jump flies into 4 more rapid shots, into the hairpin turn. The goal of the 180-degree turn is to carry as much speed into the big ramp, trying to land as late as possible for maximum speed, without overshooting the ramp. From there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 back-to-back shots, turning to hit the last as you sail to the finish. This is the author time, a high 16.78. As the dev, I'm given the responsibility of setting the very first record on the leaderboard. I wanted a respectable time, just fast enough to encourage players that they could optimize more out of the track than they expected. What I didn't expect was for this record to be broken 1 hour into the competition. This is Neo, the first speedrunner to rise to the challenge. Shortly after the competition was announced, he posted his first run, a 16.76. After gaining as much speed as possible from the big ramp, Neo jumps, carrying all his speed into the ramp, sailing to the finish. This run instantly set the bar for speedrunners going forward. The most important thing he does is jumping wherever possible. He quickly learned that you don't lose speed mid-air, so sliding on a flat surface would only slow you down. If you could jump instead, you'd save precious speed. As the first submitted run, it's impressive how many fundamentals were put together in such a short time. Imagine my surprise when less than 30 minutes later, he posted this run, a 16.15, smashing his own record by over half a second. Neo actually jumps early off the first half pipe, propelling him forward into the lip, skipping the ramp, and dropping directly into the straight. While this actually loses him speed on this run, the idea of jumping early off this ramp would become important later. A better exit off the big ramp allows Neo to preserve over 100 speed into the finish. The 16-second barrier was the next logical step, and the runner to do it would be me. After seeing Neo's runs, I couldn't help it. With his advice, and a good strafe onto the big ramp, I managed to carry over 115 speed to the finish line. The first sub-16 record. Now this run was good, but we knew that there was a lot more potential time that could be saved. With cleaner execution, a low 15 was definitely possible. But later that night, a new runner quickly made himself known. Colby. He had gotten a 15.4, miles ahead of any of our times, but he hadn't clipped it. And now that we knew it was possible, the race was on. Not long after, Neo discovered a new tech. Remember what I said about jumping early off the ramp? He learned that if you time it just right, you launch yourself into the up ramp, sailing over the flat directly onto the corner ramp. If done correctly, you could zoom into the straight with over 75 speed. Using the new route, he got this run, the first recorded 15.5. In classic fashion, 10 minutes later, another run, 15.3. By the end of the first day, the competition was heating up. With his aptitude for discovering new tech, Neo was shaping up to be the favorite to win it all. And although he hadn't submitted an official run, Colby wasn't far behind. The day came to a close. With the new day came new developments. A speedrunner entered the scene. Rem. His incredibly late landing onto the big ramp netted him close to 130 speed, and with 5 clean shots, he took the number 1 spot. A solid 15.28. But something strange happened. In the early hours of the morning, someone was grinding. A 15.03. An unbelievable time. Even after hours of optimizations, someone had managed to shave over 200 milliseconds off the record, and it was none other than Colby. Again, he had posted an absolutely insane time, this time with 15 out of 15 targets hit, but again, he hadn't recorded it. This single screenshot shattered expectations of what could be achieved on the track, but since it wasn't a video submission, it unfortunately wouldn't count as the new record. Regardless, the fire had been lit, and the hunt for a sub-15 began. As before, Neo was the favorite. He was on a roll, 15.21, 15.11. It felt like an inevitability that even if it wasn't Neo, someone would break the 15-second barrier soon. Now the third day was largely uneventful, but the fourth introduced us to a new runner, Brillaman. Brillaman began with a 16.75, a respectable time for a newcomer, but he didn't stay there long. He quickly shot up the ranks with a 15.08 out of nowhere, a massive improvement and the new top spot. Suddenly, Brillaman became the favorite to not only break the 15-second barrier, but win the whole competition. He stood alone as the only runner with an official sub 15:1 time, and with the number of posted runs decreasing each day, he seemed poised to take the prize. Now it was Sunday, the final day of the competition. After 9 p.m., runs would no longer be accepted, and as the bar was raised higher and higher, it became time-consuming to chase records. Hours could go by without a single PB, and as such, activity on the leaderboards began to die down. There were still a few new runners here and there to join the competition. The night before, a name previously unseen on the leaderboards, Jester, mentioned a possible 15:03 time, but without a video to back it up, it would go unnoticed. That was until a 15:083 exactly, tying Brilliman's record. In a single night, Jester appeared onto the scene and had risen to its peak, standing head to head with Brilliman. In an incredible last-minute move, Jester tied Brilliman for first place. They had both won the speedrunning competition, sharing the privilege of being the greatest speedrunners in speed shooter history. The speedrun competition surpassed my greatest expectations. I was blown away by just how much time and effort each of the speedrunners put into their runs, and for that, I'm grateful. In fact, Jester continued to speedrun the game even after the competition was over. He posted this run, the current all targets record, an impressive 15 seconds flat. Even more, what you're watching is the world's first 14-second time. Although it isn't a 15 out of 15 target run, it's undeniable proof that a 14-second perfect time is within reach. The only thing left is for someone to claim it.